There are questions. Can we take a few questions? Is there a microphone? Coming. But please give your name and just questions, no statements, please. And short, if possible.
My name is Mark Neugröschel. I'm here from Hebrew University. I would like to put my first question to Ms. Luiza Thompson Flores. I find it remarkable. Is that not? I find it remarkable that you speak in general about anti-Semitism and what the UNESCO is doing against it, without in a single line actually addressing the anti-Semitism of UNESCO itself. There were. I think people in this room would like to hear your position about resolutions that distort political reality, that distort history, that distort what's going on in the Middle East in a way that is undermining the right of Israel to exist. And we would like to hear what UNESCO is actually planning to do against it. In a very similar way, the minister speaks about anti-Semitism and all kind of things the Austrian government is doing against anti-Semitism, without speaking against the anti-Semitism in the own government. So it's very convenient always to speak about the anti-Semitism of the others without addressing the anti-Semitism in the own rows. And finally, I have to say, even though considering your last remarks, Mr. Muzicant, I'm a little disappointed by the organizer of this conference not to have acted more decisively in the beginning. These students, I was here the whole time, they didn't disturb anybody. They didn't disrupt the talk of the minister. I'm in favor of giving everybody his time to talk and to be heard. But I think also these people, they have the right to protest, and I think it's a good thing they came back in the end. But I would have had expected from the organizers of the conference to act more decisively, so that also these people can make their voice heard. Thank you very much.
Hello, thank you very much to Mr. Minister and Mrs. Flores from the UNESCO. 2 questions to both of you. My name is Avi Blumenfeld. I'm head of the Historical Commission of the Claims Conference in Tel Aviv, and I'm founding director for the Institute for Jewish Religious Teacher here in Austria and Vienna since half a year. So I'm a wanderer between the worlds of Israel, Germany, where I was born, like you, and now Vienna. To Mrs. Flores, there was an initiative out from some Jewish communities in Europe, and I know Mr. Muzicant was also within those, of making Jewish cemeteries worldwide, and especially in Europe, as part of the cultural heritage. Speaking of cemeteries who are older than 1,000 years up to new ones, because as you know, Jewish cemeteries are planned to be something of eternity. The answers of the UNESCO within the World Heritage process, which were smashing it down, and Mr. Muzicant maybe can tell you more about similar movements in Austria, where you have 63 historical Jewish cemeteries. So we would like to hear something about this within this forum. As Mr. Neugröschel pointed out, we appreciate the fight against anti-Semitism and for Holocaust memory, relevance, and awareness, but we also need to hear a little bit about the failures, or what at least Jews consider as failures. My question to you, Mr. Minister Fassmann, Bundesminister Fassmann, of course we appreciate your own deeds, and we all know, and now I'm a new member of this community, after the first, not textbook, but songbook affair, you came to the community, you showed solidarity, and we're very thankful for this either. But to understand, again, the point, also from an intellectual way, of us speaking of the flaws of others, like Mr. Neugröschel pointed out, we understand it, we know the flaws. We even partnering with some people within the Muslim migrant society in order to wipe these flaws out through education. And your statement about education is so important. And I hail you and I applaud you, that's the right way. But education as I have learned as a father of 4 young kids from the age 6 to 1, starts at home before I go to others. And therefore, my question again to you, within a government, I understand your reservations and you lined them out before, but you also know the reservations of the Jewish community. President Deutsch is sitting down there, what he said before the coalition agreement, what mostly of the community unisono said within the parliament of the community, a vote, one voice vote. Please don't go within those people. As an Minister of Education, of Bildung, of Wissenschaft and Forschung, please give us your insight how still you can make an alliance with people who in general, other people think there's not an alliance to do. And the next one for the students, and this is to Professor Lange, who is the head of Judaistic. You know, in Judaistic, and as a Jew, sorry to say, we have a principle that a machloket l'shem shamayim, an argumentation for the sake of heaven, has elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim, both are words of the living God. So when students stand up and show a protest, as a professor, I would love to have them in my lectures, in my seminars, in order to protest in this civilized manner and doing the duty, not as wild students, but as intellectual within a machloket l'shem shamayim. And therefore, the disappointment expressed by Mr. Neugröschel is just coming for me even farther, because as a part of a Judaistic intellectual chair, there should be more understanding for it. Thank you.
By the way, to clarify, the name is Thompson Flores. That's my last name. My first name is Ana Luiza. It's a Brazilian name. That's why it's mixed with, actually it's Massou, French, Thompson, Scottish, Flores, Spanish. I think it's important to highlight here, and if you allow, I will actually answer both questions. One was more a statement, which I respect. The other one was more a question, but I think they both touched on something that as I was listening, I like to go back to just one sentence at the beginning of my intervention. We in UNESCO, and here I say the we in the form of the Secretariat, we are international civil servants. We work for an organization, we believe in its mandates. I personally have been in the United Nations system for 30 years. I have been with UNESCO almost 10 years. And we believe in the mandate. We believe in the mandate of peace, of human rights, of dialogue, of respect. And I think it also has to be recognized that, as with all United Nations organizations, we also reflect in our resolutions the different opinions of the different countries that are members of our organization. And in the case of UNESCO, we also have the participation of civil society and many other partners and different opinions during our General Conference. So while I have to say that I stand by my organization, I think it's also very important to highlight the difference between UNESCO as its secretariat, UNESCO as its civil servants who do perform individual technical support of its mandates, and sometimes decisions that are taken as a reflection of the opinions of different countries that are also part of our organization. I think you may agree or disagree, that is to be respected, but I think it's important to have dialogue. And the fact that there are different opinions being expressed in different fora, in different rooms, that is what is part of humanity. And that is what I heard today when there was an intervention from our host, where the important thing is for different people to speak, different people to express in a respectful manner their differences of opinion, and hopefully at the end to defend peace. So I would like to highlight again, we believe that the ethical and political commitment against anti-Semitism and all forms of intolerance and discrimination must be founded on an intellectual effort to understand the roots of hatred, to diffuse the discourse that exploits ignorance. Thank you.
Oder wollen Sie von da auf?
Yeah. I want to pick up what you said, the colleague from the Hebrew University, because you said to me that I'm talking about measurements of the other ones. No, I was talking about the measurements which my ministry is doing against anti-Semitism. I'm the politically responsible person of that. And I'm thinking what I can do more. So I'm talking about my work and not about the other ones. Is it clear? No, only to be precise, yeah? The next one, yes, I agree what you said, and I fully understand it. And I have to start with the phrase I'm starting my lecture. If I would be the professor, I could talk about this issue much more than it is possible now. Nevertheless, I have to say that in the contract of this government, there are clear statements, and I can't see that these are statements going into direction anti-Israel or anti-Semitism. The statements in the program. I'm not talking about the people which are writing this program. This could be another story.
Some of you should know that the minister came to the synagogue and to the Jewish community 2 weeks ago. We were, I won't say taken by surprise, but he called on Monday that he's coming on Tuesday. Thursday, Friday. To pay his personal respect to the Austrian victims of the Shoah. Now, I haven't had such an experience in 47 years of serving my community. And Herr Bundesminister, as we say in French, chapeau. You touched a nerve, because Jewish people are living in this trauma of why are we living here? How can we live in a country which killed our grandparents? And then one day the minister says, I'd like to come. I don't want any public statements or whatever. It's a personal wish. I want to come. I want to go to the memorial of the 65,000 killed Austrian Jews, and I want to express my sympathy, solidarity, whatever. And I'm an emotional person, I must say. I was really impressed. And when I say we are wandering on a very narrow path, it means if we have chances to meet people who are on the same way as we are, who try to be our partners in a fight which we may lose, by the way. I try to take back my emotions against the others, against why did they form the government with the FPÖ, and say, now is maybe the moment, different to the year 2000, to have a different approach. And I would like to explain why I say that. I had very ugly fights as president of the community with Chancellor Schüssel. Ugly. It was not easy for him. It was not easy for me. But things passed, and it's now 18 years later. He still doesn't shake my hand, and he still doesn't come to the synagogue, and he still doesn't want to understand our grievances, our why we are hurt, why we are having these emotions, why for us the question of is Austria going to have an anti-Semitic future or not is so important. So this is why I'm saying it's a narrow path we are on. I fully understand our students. They have my whole solidarity when it comes to protesting. I was one of the protesters myself 18 years ago. I stood on Heldenplatz together with Rabbi Baker, who was here until yesterday, and who came in solidarity for the Jewish community, and we were saying what we had to say. So the situation is not black and the situation is not white. The situation is gray. And we have to take steps to make it whiter, even if it's not going to be completely white. I don't think an end to anti-Semitism will happen in our lifetime, as many of you have said before. But at least we have to do what, again, I quote Bernard Levy, name the problem, respond to the problem, and counterattack. And this is exactly what we're trying to achieve. So if we have a partner in this, Herr Bundesminister, and yes, we are going to criticize, you are able to live with it. We will go on. Entschuldigen Sie, ja, ich bin schon so drin. Nein, der Herr Professor, Sie müssen gehen. Ja.
Herr Minister, dann erlauben Sie mir bitte, bevor Sie gehen, erst selbst eine Frage an Sie zu stellen und dann würde ich gerne auf die Kommentare hier eingehen. I said that I asked the minister to allow me first, as he needs to go, to ask him a question, and then I will answer the question from the floor. Now, one thing that I think concerns many, many people in this room and many, many people outside of this room is the involvement of fraternities in your government. I appreciate very much statements by both Chancellor Kurz and yourself about your intent to fight anti-Semitism. And I take this as a positive signal. But what worries me personally is how can you fight anti-Semitism when you have so many members of student fraternities in functions in the administration, student fraternities which themselves sympathize with Jew hatred and anti-Semitism. I think this is a very important question which needs to be addressed. So I would like to have an answer on this before answering the question.
I found the words of Mr. Muzicant as a wonderful closing remark, saying things are gray and we should make it much more clear what is black and what is white. Your answer is a complicated answer. Your question is a complicated question, and I'm not sure if I should open that book and that chapter to explain it. What is the problem connected with your question? Because it's clear if you say there should be no coalition with ministers.
This I didn't say. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
What?
I said we are worried and we are scared about the participation of members of student fraternities, which, as fraternities, often enough venerate anti-Semites. We are concerned that these people are in the administration, and how does that relate to the very positive statements of the same government and administration to want to fight anti-Semitism? It's a question that has been in this conference and in this room for a very long time. You're probably the wrongest person to ask, I know that. I happen to know that because I know you before the time when you were minister. Nevertheless, you are here and you're the only person we can ask.
So if you're not claiming to stop any contact to ministers which are maybe in fraternities, which is not that what you are claiming, then my answer is easier. Then we have to be sensitive. We have to observe We have to prove the people by concrete actions, and we have to talk with the people and asking, what do you doing? What do you think if you do something? Enlightening is the only thing what we can do, and you are a professor of that university. So the answer is quite clear, and therefore coming back a little bit to what I said before, yes, education is maybe the only instrument. Punishment could be something, but education is in the sense of the Enlightenment, I think the only possible answer.
Would you allow me one more?
Yes, sure.
This is my own idea. I'm not claiming the conference or the conference organizers will in the end advise to imply such a strategy, but I'm wondering if somebody makes an anti-Semitic statement, should he not be excluded from any political party which is openly, publicly stating that it wants to fight anti-Semitism? Should he not be excluded from working in an administration?
So first, you have to ask this clearly, not me. You have to ask this question to the people of the FPÖ, and they would say, yes, this is what we are doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's the chair.
I think we have tried to. It was a difficult morning, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it so easy?
Yes, it started.
But taking everything together, it is important that you came, and I'd like to thank you for that. I would like to thank all of you, critical or less critical, for your participation right now. And it's going to go on anyway. It's not going to go away. We are here, you are here, the government is here. This is a situation which is dynamic, let's call it this way. We have a meeting tomorrow morning.
Yes, appreciate it.
We are very keen to discuss practical steps of education and not of anti-Semitism tomorrow morning. I appreciate all of you for being here. Thank you.